I'm sure we all individually have that one area in our mind that is the summer vacation spot, and there is one in Arknights, and it is of course Siesta, the focus of this video. Siesta has appeared in primarily two events, Heart of Surging Flame and So Long Adele, and it's a pretty fascinating area within the world of Arknights. This is primarily because it is located in between several very large countries, specifically though for Siesta's case, Colombia and Victoria, and it exists as an entirely independent section of them. It is made up of one city, and its primary source of economic growth is tourism, which of course is kinda not working out so well for it right now because of the events of House of Surging Flame, but it is slowly but surely recovering. But we're getting ahead of ourselves, and in this video I want to just delve into a little bit of the background of Siesta and what makes it so entertaining. So Siesta was formed by a group of Colombian miners that broke off from Colombia and formed the independent city of Siesta. And unlike Bolivar, another region whose existence is kinda similar to it in terms of origins, this one hasn't really been highly contested over by its fellow countries, typically being left to its own devices due to the economic boon it is to have a tourist attraction like it close to Colombia and Victoria. Because of that, its existence in terms of economics is very interesting. However, it only has two real industries. Its mining operations for obsidian and, of course, its beaches, its tourism front. And one of those was made illegal in order to protect people from infection, and the other was lost during the events of Hearts of Surging Flame due to the dangers of a volcanic eruption, and as such by the time of So Long Adele it is in dire economic straits. However, despite all of this, Siesta has refused to join either Victoria or Colombia, despite any potential boons it would gain from doing such. As of the events of So Long Adele, Colombia is trying to flex its muscle on Siesta and tries to impose several of its own laws and regulations on the country, despite Siesta not particularly being that fond of Colombia. Due to the events of Siesta's history, it is being situated in two primary locations. Originally, Siesta was a stationary city located close to Mount Siesta, and that is visited by Rhodes Island and the Doctor during the events of Hearts of Surging Flame. Post that event, Siesta became a mobile city and now resides within Colombia's borders, which is why Colombia can get away with forcing its laws and regulations upon it, at least to some degree. And as we see during the events of So Long Adele, the industries have kind of collapsed there. But thanks to the hard work of investors like Bison and Swire, and its own citizens like Ceylon, the city is slowly but surely recovering. Whether the new Siesta will ever reach the heights that it once had as the old Siesta is yet to be seen, but I'm fairly confident that with enough time there will be enough economic growth to push the city forward. And having only been mentioned in passing so far, I have one last big thing to discuss about Siesta's lore, and that is of course Mount Siesta itself. Now, Mount Siesta is a large volcano situated right beside Old Siesta, and during the events of Hearts of Surging Flame, we learned this thing was just about to erupt. The overabundance of obsidian mining had agitated the volcano, and it was getting ready to release a massive eruption. This resulted in the lava originium slugs, primarily Pompeii, going on a bit of a rampage. And as such, after defeating these lava slugs, the decision was made for Siesta to become a mobile city so that they could escape the effects of this eruption. And for that purpose, the successful change from Old Siesta to New Siesta was a great idea. However, they did not account for the economic damage that would result from this move, and as such, the citizens of New Siesta were pretty out of luck and out of a job. And during the events of So Long Adele, we get to see this massive eruption. However, thanks to the timely interference of one Gigachad known as Dolly, the absolutely devastating effects of it were somewhat minimized, and due to Dolly's clones, it was able to reveal to Siesta the old myth that existed within the country of the white volcanic eruption. And now that this eruption has taken place, hopefully the road to recovery is paved for Siesta, and one day it may reclaim the glorious beachfronts that made the country so wealthy. And with all that being said about the general lore of Siesta, I want to just talk about some of the more interesting characters from the region. So to avoid getting completely bogged down with characters, I'm only going to discuss my two favorites from the region, Cylon and Swartz. Now, Cylon is the daughter of the current mayor of Siesta, Herman Dykos, and as such he is fairly knowledgeable of the current activities within Siesta. Cylon, as of the events of So Long Adele, is running a clinic for Rhodes Island within Siesta, and is also aiding in setting up an infected region where workers and miners who have lost their jobs due to their oropathy can go to find a job and find treatment. Swartz is Cylon's old bodyguard and close personal friend, and if you are about that shipping life, her girlfriend as well. Swartz is just a fairly interesting character to me. I really do like the difference between her ex-mercenary self, which, comes to the surface in terms of her being a badass, and her being super protective and loyal to Cylon. Just a nice mix for a relatively simple but very entertaining character to read. And that's about it. Siesta is a fairly bare bones region currently. We haven't gotten a massive amount of information on it, and in general it's a fairly straightforward region to get behind. There isn't mass political maneuvering in this place. This Siesta isn't like Casimiras where you have 3 different factions all vying for control of the region. It's simply run like a summer paradise, and the one time when someone was actively trying to harm it, they got put away fairly quickly once the harmful nature of their actions was brought to the surface. And with that all being said, I'm gonna dip out. I'm kinda hoping to make these region-specific videos more in the future. I'm just starting with Siesta because it is, tying into the So Long Adele event that's currently running. But I won't keep you here any longer. Be good people. See you next time.